Let's see, wait a minute. We got 1, 2, 3. We got everybody here. All right, we got our quorum. So we're going to do our Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, goodness. To do our pledge. Got it. No. Excuse me? Are there any former Tiger Bells in the room? Oh, look at this. Would you please would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you so much. You can come down here if you don't want to shout, but it sounds like you might be good at it. Come on down, Tiger Bell.
All the Tiger Bells can come.
All right, let me see if I remember the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, I'm ready. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You did great. Thank you. Thank you. You did perfect. All right. I'd like to see a motion to either adopt the agenda as listed.
So moved. Second.
All right. All right. The adoption of the agenda has been first and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please raise your hand if you're in approval of the adoption of the agenda. Thank you. That is unanimous. All right. That brings us to awards and recognitions, which gets us to Dr. Battle.
All right, thank you, Chair Elrod, and good evening, board members. Tonight we're going to honor some exceptional student athletes, as well as some outstanding team MNPS educators who work hard every day to help our students succeed. I want to start this evening with our track and field athletes who won top honors at the recent TSSAA State Championships, which took place in late May after some of these students had already graduated from their high schools. These student athletes have shown not only exceptional skill, talent, and dedication in their track and field events, but also excellent time management and self-discipline to juggle academics, athletics, and their own responsibilities. We're so proud of all of you for what you've accomplished and how you've represented MPS on and off the track. So I'm going to call up each of our individual state champions and runner-ups, as well as the team relay winners and runner-ups. Please come up and face this admiring audience when I call your name or your relay team. And please stay up here as I go through the rest of the names. Then we'll get one big photo of everyone from all of the schools together, and then we'll recognize the 3 schools with overall boys or girls teams that were state champions or runner-ups. I'll be going through these in alphabetical order by school. So first, we have the Cane Ridge High School girls 4x200 meter relay, which was the runner-up at the TSSAA State Championships last month. Come on up. All right, next up is East Nashville Magnet High School with a big haul of trophies. Again, students, come on up when I call your name. We have Anaya Marshall. She's a state champion in the pentathlon and high jump and runner-up in the 300-meter hurdles. Wow. Isaiah Shute, who is the state champion in the triple jump and runner-up in the pentathlon. Avriana Beckley is a state runner-up in the triple jump. And East Boys are the state runner-up in the 4x100 meter relay. Come on up. Great job, everyone. And we'll be recognizing East one more time a little bit later, but stay where you are. Next, we have the Hume Fogg Academic Magnet High School Boys 4x800 meter relay team, which is the state runner-up. Come on up if you're here with us this evening. And from Maplewood High School, we have Carolyn McRae, who won the state championship in the shot put. Woo-hoo!
say, the field doesn't get the love enough it should.
We also have for Martin Luther King Jr. Academic Magnet High School, it has the longest list of individual winners and quite a few team relay winners as well. First up is Amaya Joy, who won the state championship in the pentathlon. Let me say that again. State championship in the pentathlon and was runner-up in the 300-meter hurdles. We have a new state champion in the discus, Lanaya Roberts. Come on up.
All right,
2 times.
Girl words unite.
We also have Aaliyah Renato, who won the state championship in both the 100 meters and 200 meters. Coriana Boyd, who finished as a state runner-up in the 400 meters. And the state runner-up in the 100-meter hurdles, Nevaeh Hyde.
I love the noise.
Our runner-up in both the shot put and the discus, Bianca Lovelace Coleman. But that's not all, y'all. MLK also had 3 state championship winning relay teams. The girls 4x200-meter relay, the girls 4x400-meter relay, and the boys 4x400-meter relay. Let's give them a round of applause as they come up. All right, so great job, MLK. We'll have a little more to say about your achievements in a few minutes. Next up, from John Overton High School, we have Kamora Lee Williams, who won the state championship in the 100 meters. Pearl Cone High School also had a very impressive list of individual relay winners. Ariana Thomas is a TSSAA state champion in the 300-meter hurdles. The state champion in the decathlon and triple jump and the runner-up in the long jump is Donovan Higgins. The state runner-up in the girls' long jump, Jakayla Morris. And Mickey Wallace is the runner-up in the high jump. Now, Pearl Cone also had several outstanding relay teams. The following teams won the state championship. The girls 4x100-meter relay. The girls 4x200-meter relay. And the boys 4x100-meter relay. And the Pearl Cone boys 4x400-meter relay team is the state runner-up. Let's give them another round of applause. All right, so great work, Pearl Cone, and we'll be talking about you again shortly, too. Finally, last but not least, we have one more individual to recognize, and that is our new state champion in the 100-meter hurdles, Janae Bowers from Whites Creek High School. All right, y'all, let's give it up for all these individual and relay champions and runner-ups.
get like in this horseshoe kind of area.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Everybody but
We gotta get the tall kids in the back. Excuse me, tall people.
All right, student athletes and coaches, don't go too far. We've got a couple more recognitions before you head out. If you choose. Now, before we move on, all right, so now before we move on from track and field, there are 3 teams from 3 different schools that we want to recognize for their success at the state championships a few weeks ago. First up are the East Nashville Magnet High School girls, who were the runner-up as a team for their overall accomplishments. The East girls are led by Coach Wayne Hines. So Coach Hines and everyone from your team who's with you tonight, please come on up for another photo so we can celebrate your team runner-up at the state championship.
Get their membership.
The jingle jangle.
Jingle jangle.
Sound success.
Okay, I really need my hair braided. I know. I'm just too lazy. I haven't made an appointment yet. Well, I can buy the hair. I just,
All right, next we have the Pearl Cone boys, who were crowned as state champions as a team for their overall success at the TSSAA meet. The Pearl Cone Boys team is led by Coach Andre Davis. Coach Davis, team, who's ever here to represent you, come on up for a team photo as we congratulate you on your state championship.
So he's a manager. Yeah.
I'm about to do it myself. I have one in my car. So I'm not the only one who just had a temperature run. Oh yeah, it's like something like that.
What is that? I think everyone has to do
It's like a joyful giggle. I think they're just happy to be with each other. Yeah. Just excited to see each other.
Yes, they've been out of school. All right, and finally, we have another TSSAA state champion team. So we would like to recognize the MLK girls team who are state champions this year. Let's give them a round of applause. Come on up. All right, congratulations, Coach Ronald Mosley, and other coaches and administrators who are here, and to our MLK girls on your state championship. Mm-hmm. All right, congratulations again. So congrats to all of our track and field student athletes for your great success at the TSSAA state championships last month. And since many of these students haven't graduated yet, and will still be with us next school year, I have a feeling we'll be seeing some of them again here for a few years. Also want to take an opportunity and just acknowledge, as I mentioned, track and field tends to end after the end of the school year, but we will cut no corners in recognizing our student athletes. Many of you were celebrated a few weeks ago at our first annual Breakfast of Champions, so we look forward to continuing to celebrate our student athletes in that way. And like I told you on that day, you are the best of the best of the best across this country, and we always look for an opportunity to celebrate you and lift you up. I'm also going to take a point of privilege because I see a few familiar faces in the audience. We have some of our very own Sports Hall of Famers here with us tonight. So if you are here and you're part of the Sports Hall of Fame for Metro Nashville Public Schools, could you please stand and be recognized? So again, thank you all for really establishing a strong legacy and just trailblazing a path of success here for MNPS and for your continued support. Congratulations to you all. All right, so switching gears just a little bit, I'm proud to recognize 2 individual educators and 2 teams of school counselors for their amazing work to making sure that every student is known in MNPS. First up is Kelly Carey, a STEAM teacher at Tusculum Elementary School, who was recognized as the 2023 Technology Educator of the Year by the Greater Nashville Technology Council. And for anyone who is unfamiliar with STEAM, that stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. Let's give Kelly Carey a round of applause. And don't go too far. I have a little bit more to say about you. I've got to brag on you. So every year, the Greater Nashville Technology Council honors an outstanding educator in Middle Tennessee who, and I quote, has exhibited exceptional dedication to and innovation in the advancement of technology education, as identified through open nominations. Nominees are judged on the innovation of their tech education curriculum or program, the accessibility of the program to a broad and diverse base of students, and the impact of the program on the student, school, and community. Kelly, congratulations on receiving this great honor. And thank you for everything you do to teach and inspire your students. We would love to get a photo of you and of your support team that's here celebrating you, and thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
And I'll give a shout out to our new principal of Tusculum Elementary, Matthew Earls, who is here to celebrate Miss Carey.
It looks like he's 20. Yeah, it looks like he's 20, yeah.
All right, lots to celebrate today because next up we have Lindsay Kimmery, who is the MNPS Coordinator of Library Services. Lindsay was named a mover and shaker for 2023 by Library Journal last month and was one of just 49 people across the nation to win that honor. The trade publication honored Lindsay as a tenacious advocate, praising her work to get books in the hands of students during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. Her championing of diversity, equity, and inclusion when those values were under attack by state legislation. And her advocacy of library services and librarians and communications with curriculum specialists, principals, and other stakeholders. Lindsay, congratulations on this national recognition, and thank you for everything you do to lead, support, and promote MNPS's excellent libraries. We appreciate everything you do, and thank you so much for your innovation and the personal support you provided me as well. So congratulations, Lindsay. If you could, please, let's give her a round of applause as she comes up for a photo.
Press the button.
While she's coming up, Mrs. Kimmery also joined us in D.C. to advocate at a very high level for Tennessee schools, for libraries, and for library services. So thank you. Just thank you, thank you. You know I love you.
hope y'all didn't think I was done because I'm not. So, just 2 schools in Tennessee received a national award this year for the effectiveness of their data-informed school counseling programs in serving students and meeting their needs. And one of those schools is our very own Dan Mills Elementary School. The recognized ASCA Model Program Award, or RAMP Award, from the American School Counselor Association recognizes schools committed to delivering a data-informed school counseling program in accordance with the national model, a framework for school counseling programs. Dan Mills and the other winning schools showed evidence of direct and indirect services to students, program planning, and improved student outcomes. Nationally, 101 schools in 21 states are receiving this recognition. They will be honored during a special ceremony at the American School Counselor Association's annual conference on July 17th in Atlanta. This is tremendous work that exemplifies our MNPS mission to make sure every student is known, that they're cared for, valued, and supported, and on a path to success. Thank you to the school counseling team at Dan Mills, which includes school counselors Sarah Beck and Megan Bennett, and school counseling interventionist Julie Hogg, and advanced coach Chris Suma. So congratulations to each of you on this great honor, and we would like to invite you up to celebrate you here and to take a quick photo. So Dan Mills, come on up.
Come on up.
You cannot escape.
Yeah, you can't escape.
You must come up. We have one more school counseling team that is proving extremely effective at helping our students get on and stay on a path to success. Hume Falk Academic Magnet High School was recently honored by the ACT as an American College Application Campaign School of Excellence, one of just 23 schools across the country to receive this recognition. School of Excellence winners are selected by this group based on their demonstrated commitment to student success and for serving as exemplary models for their state's college application campaign. The award recognizes Hume Falk school counselors for their commitment to ensuring that students receive the time, space, and coaching to complete their college applications with the assistance of caring adults. And that combination of student talent and counselor coaching must be pretty awesome, because Hume Falk's class of 2023 graduates are headed to Duke, Brown, the University of Pennsylvania, Vanderbilt, Northwestern, Bowdoin, Belmont, Fisk, Lipscomb, Trevecca, Sewanee, Middle Tennessee State, Clark Atlanta, Emory, Rhodes, and numerous other outstanding colleges and universities. They couldn't all be here tonight, but I'd like to invite the Hume Falk counseling team up to the podium to be recognized. Kanika Childress, Janetta Harper, Lauren Hemrick, Nawana Knight, and Catherine Sanford, as well as Executive Principal Dr. Kelly Hargis, to join us up front for a photo and for a moment to celebrate your awesome work. Let's give it up for them.
All right, congratulations to all of tonight's honorees. We're so proud of all of you for your accomplishments in academics and athletics. And with that, Chair Elrod, I will turn it back over to you and close out our awards and recognitions.
Thank you. Thank you. As always, our awards and recognitions are a joyful and exciting time within the board, so I appreciate everybody making the time to be here. It was a big, is it not on? Oh, it is on. Okay, goodness. I appreciate you making the time to be here and, of course, spending your time with us this summer afternoon. I hope you've been able to catch your breath, because now we're going to turn it back over to Dr. Battle to do our director's report.
Thank you so much, Chair Rod. It's always so exciting to celebrate the greatness of MNPS, and we don't stop. It doesn't stop for us just because it's the end of the school year. And so what a fun time and joyous time to celebrate all the talents that live right here in Nashville. So let me get my clicker. All right, thank you again, Chair Elrod and board members. We had a strong finish to the 2022-23 school year on May 25th, and we quickly moved into Promising Scholars. I wanted to give the board a quick update on a topic which is top of mind, and that is the third grade retention law and the third grade ELA TCAP results that were released a few weeks ago, followed by some information about safety and security that we are planning to share with the Metro Council along with MNPD at the meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. First, we saw some great progress for our students on third grade ELA TCAP results, with the highest number of students testing proficient since the adoption of the TN Ready standards in 2016. I'm going to repeat that. We saw some great progress for our students on the third grade ELA TCAP results, with the highest number of students testing proficient since the adoption of the TN Ready standards in 2016. Approximately 66% of third grade students may be exempt from the retention law due to either meeting or exceeding expectations on the third grade ELA portion of TCAP or retake, having a suspected reading disability, English learner status, or having previously been retained. We've grown from 27.4% proficient last year to 29% proficient, which is higher than the record set in 2018. We also had the most students ever who scored exceeding expectations on the test, an improvement of about 2.5% over last year's results. Following the release of the student level results, we were able to retest students the next week, focusing on those students who did not score proficient and who did not have an identified exemption in place. Of those students who took the test, approximately 11% of students scored proficient, meaning they would automatically advance to fourth grade next school year, while an additional 10% of test takers moved from below to approaching and were able to pursue those pathways to promotion. Final determinations about exemptions, promotion, and retention will be made in July by school teams, but approximately 34% of third grade students are subject to the provisions of the retention law and will require either interventions or an appeal in order to be promoted. About 1/3 of those students are eligible for an appeal to the TDOE based on their universal screening percentile score and receiving the approaching designation on the test. Overall, we've registered 3,653 third graders for Promising Scholars this year. A round of applause. Or 17,415 total students at all grade levels. So we have a fantastic team of school and district leaders who have been working to make Promising Scholars a success and understand that students will have to show growth as determined by the state's truncated TCAP reading tests at the end of the summer learning camps in order to be promoted using that pathway. We will continue monitoring the progress of appeals, attendance at Promising Scholars, and other metrics that will determine the scope or impact of this law on students in our classrooms going into the next school year. So again, kudos to our Promising Scholars team. Unfortunately, not the reason for students having to be in Promising Scholars, but I'm really proud of the work of us being able to be responsive and continuing to provide a very enriching opportunity to all students who are enrolled. So I also want to give the board a preview of the presentation we'll be giving to the Metro Council tomorrow in collaboration with MNPD. So before we start, I wanted to level set about what we're here to present, which is a high-level overview of our district-wide and tier-based approaches to school safety in such a way that gives this board, our families, and our staff greater level of confidence in our plans moving forward. Without going into such detailed specifics about phasing or locations that might give a person with ill intent a roadmap of how to get around our security to cause harm. Many of our buildings and district-level security procedures are confidential under state law for this very reason. And so please know that if there are details we don't get into, it isn't because the work isn't not happening or we don't know, but rather because we're intentional about keeping certain aspects confidential in the best interests of our students and staff. Also, the policies I'm discussing related to MNPS run school are related to MNPS run schools and do not apply to private or all charter schools, which may be different, they may have different operational systems in place. So here is an outline of our agenda for today's discussion. Starting off with the why we are here, our existing measures, renewed priorities for school safety, and how the community can support us in these efforts as we move forward. As we know, the impetus for this current discussion was a tragic shooting that took place in our community at the Covenant School, which took the lives of 3 young children, 3 administrators, and the shooter. My heart goes out to the victims' families, and we stand with the Covenant community in making sure they have the tools and resources needed for the long road to recovery. This was the latest and closest in a long line of incidents throughout the country where an armed intruder came into a school seeking to cause harm. And it is something we have been thinking about and planning for, not just since I've been director, but since I was a student at MNPS so many years ago. So before we talk about what we're going to do next, I want to ground us in the work that has already taken place over a couple of decades, along with the most recent measures taken after the shooting in Uvalde. So I'm going to start with our continuum of care. There is no single entity or person responsible for school safety in Nashville. Everyone working together as a team stands to make and help make our schools as safe and secure as it can be through coordinated action. That means having students and families understand the importance of following the rules we have set in place, as well as letting us know when there are suspicious activities or threats to the safety of our students or staff. They can do this by contacting the school directly, the police, or the Family Information Center. Knowing that safety and security are not new to MNPS or other school districts across the state and country, we wanted to give a broad overview of some of the key enhancements and investments that have been made in the last few years, and in some cases decades, to keep our schools safe. You see the list of them, everything from security vestibules, AV intercom locks, routine drills and exercises, locked classrooms, security cameras, interior and exterior, badge access control. We have our own established MNPS K-9 division and our visitor management system. As noted in the continuum of care, everyone has a role in safety and security, but some are more specifically focused on this job. As always, in a system as large as ours, there are vacancies that occur due to retirement or turnover, and the labor shortages have affected all sectors of the economy. But this represents the budgeted positions we do have. There are 75 officers in the SRO budget that include both the school-assigned SROs at the middle and high school levels and their supervisors. Over the last few years, there have been many vacancies in the SRO department that has limited full daily coverage at each of our middle and high schools. Starting this fall, the MNPD is committing to filling those vacancies following the addition of a new recruitment class so that all of our high schools and middle schools will have an SRO assigned daily. Our Safety and Security Department includes our own MNPS, 39 security officers, as well as those who monitor calls and dispatch. 107 campus support positions are budgeted throughout our middle and high schools. Campus support staff help during drills and monitoring compliance with safety plans, as well as responding to situations in classrooms and hallways where teachers or staff need additional help dealing with emergency situations that might jeopardize safety of other students or staff. While there are some non-negotiables for our principals, they also have the discretion to hire more from their student-based budgets depending on the needs of their schools. Our safety ambassadors are based on the campus support model, but with a focus on the difference in needs between the elementary and the middle and high school levels. This was also something announced during the start of last school year. And while it took some time to identify the best funding source and get approval, we started hiring earlier this year and are continuing to hire throughout the summer to fill positions. Safety ambassadors go through a 40-hour training program between the MNPS Security Department, Police Department, and Student Support Services on best practices when we address everything from an armed intruder to a student experiencing behavioral challenges. And all of our elementary schools have had visibility and support from MNPD police officers this year through our partnership with MNPD that was announced at the start of last school year. Now, every year, schools work with an assigned police officer, typically an SRO, to develop school-level emergency operations plans that help them to know what to do in the case of several emergency scenarios that may happen in the school environment. These plans lay out the roles and responsibilities of people on staff with primary and backup positions in many cases, along with contact information, emergency routes, relocation sites, and much more as it relates to the procedure that should be followed in the case of an emergency. Plans that sit on a shelf aren't helpful in an emergency, which is why schools are tasked with practicing responses to emergency situations on an annual basis pursuant to Tennessee law. There are several drills conducted throughout the year with multiple fire drills, an intruder drill, CPR, defibrillator drill, as well as other drills are required. These drills are meant to teach students and staff alike the proper course of action to take in any emergency while identifying any issues that may need to be fixed as a result of the drill. For example, if the alarm isn't working properly or there's some impediment to ingress or egress. We also have clear plans for emergency communications and threat reporting that our district and school level staff are trained on. In the case of any emergency, from weather to school safety incidents, our teams are ready to implement a robust communications plan to ensure that school staff, families, and partners are informed through multiple channels, such as email, phone, text, or through the media. So safety is not just about preventing active shooters, but it is about the day-to-day, day in and day out safety of our students and staff from those who are authorized to be in the building during the school day. Over the last few years, we have implemented or expanded advocacy centers at our elementary schools and peace centers in our middle and high schools they're meant to be or to de-escalate problems and apply restorative practices and principles in dealing with student behavior needs. We have also, as a district, we also have as a school and district level threat assessment teams who review specific incidents or potential threats to take the appropriate actions. And we utilize suicide behavioral screeners in order to further protect students from self-harm. When behavioral incidents occur, our focus is not just on disciplinary actions, but also in creating student safety plans to prevent or reduce recurrences of incidents based on individual situations. And we have a robust disciplinary code of conduct in our student parent handbook that outlines the measures and levels of discipline that need to happen to keep students and staff safe. So before the start of the 22-23 school year, we worked closely with both MNPD and the Mayor's Office to secure funding and commitments that would work towards better school safety protocols and procedures. That includes our Safety Ambassador Program, which was funded through the federal ESSER grant and started in January 2023. We used $4 million in additional one-time funds provided by Mayor Cooper and the Metro Council to design and implement campus upgrades around fencing, lighting, and security vestibules. We also use those funds to add additional security cameras and Knox boxes, which are being installed at every school and will allow first responders access to our schools in the case of an emergency, and establish a contract with our existing security camera vendor to add a brandished weapon detection feature to our cameras, which includes monitoring and alerts, which are being piloted now and will be installed throughout the summer and fall. We have additional MNPD staffing and extracurricular activities and MNPS access cards placed in MNPD vehicles in case of an emergency, in addition to the additional police presence at our elementary schools. One of our mottos at MNPS is know where you are, but don't stay there. While we aren't looking to reinvent the wheel every year, we are looking at gaps and opportunities that can be enhanced, whether it's academics, student supports, or in this case, safety and security. Here are a few of the ways we're looking to reflect and improve upon our level of service going forward. As discussed, MNPD is looking to fill vacancies in the SRO department to fully staff the middle and high school SRO program. And MNPS will be executing on recruitment strategies to expand staffing in the Safety Ambassador program that was launched at the beginning of the calendar year with approval of ESSER funds for this purpose. Key teams from both agencies will continue to meet regularly to identify any issues in collaboration, access, and protocols to ensure our joint work is being implemented to the highest standard. MNPD will also offer consultation to school administrators on execution of their drills throughout the school year. Professional development and training is key to our successful implementation of the plans and protocols we've discussed today. This summer, all school-based employees will participate in intruder training offered by MNPD staff during their in-service week this summer. While training previously occurred through our drills for school-level staff, this will give them more direct training from the police department. The training for staff will closely resemble the content delivered to all MNPS school administrators this previous summer. We also, as a district, provide MNPD SROs along with other staff at MNPS training on the best practices for adhering to the social and emotional needs of our students when responding to behavioral incidents. Now, I'm sure that many of us have seen the video released by MNPD of the shooter at the Covenant School using their assault rifle to gain access through the front door. While there are a few practical levels of security that can completely stop someone with a weapon of war from gaining access to our buildings, we can make it more difficult and buy time for our staff to implement safety protocols and for the police to respond. Shadow-resistant film that can be added to our schools may help us do just that. So MNPS and MNPD are working together to plan for and install shadow-resistant protection on glass in school buildings. These facility enhancements will be made in close coordination with MNPD and NFD and in alignment with national best practices. Following the shooting at the Covenant, the governor announced a $140 million investment in funding statewide for school resource officers. This is a funding plan for law enforcement who must apply for the grant. So again, the SRO grant is for local law enforcement to apply for and receive the grant, of course in consultation with the local school district. They also increased from $20 million in one-time security grants to $40 million following Covenant. The grant application process is months long and based on the threat assessments conducted by law enforcement and school personnel at the school level. And again, just as a reminder, this is a grant process and will take some time for schools to be able to apply for and their one-time security grant funds. One thing we always hear from our partners at the Metro Council and in the community, and quite frankly from this board, is how can we help? Whenever you're talking about building upon a robust plan like the one I've just discussed. So what we can do is to continue to advocate for federal, state, and local policies that limit the risks to students in our schools and in our communities, many of which are outside the control of the public school system. There are laws that can help us get this thing under control. In order to implement our goals of shadow-resistant protection on glass in school buildings, we are currently estimating $5 million to install these at our schools, which require both labor and material. We also need recurring funds in order to keep in place our Safety Ambassador program that is currently utilizing ESSER funding that expires at the end of next school year. And the MNPD can use additional funding to cover the overtime for officer presence at elementary schools and athletic events. You also see that we are also in need of a $1.5 million investment for MNPS building upgrades to ensure seamless communication between MNPS, MNPD radio system. So I know that was a lot. Thank you all for sticking with us through this presentation. Thank you for your continued support and advocacy in all spaces, but specifically in this space around safety and security. I hope that I've been able to answer many of the questions that I've heard, that you've heard around what our plans are as we move forward. And again, I will be sharing this exact presentation tomorrow, and we are planning for some additional internal, external communications to summarize where we're going moving forward. I will end there, Chair, and I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much. Before we get to questions, I just want to make sure that everyone's aware it's being added to our calendar, but we have the dates for those meetings that we're talking about in that series. So the first one is tomorrow at 4 p.m. in Council Chambers. Then it's Wednesday, June 21st at 6 p.m. at Hillsborough. And then Wednesday, June 28th at 4 p.m. And that's also in Council Chambers as well. There's a press release that I'm also happy to send you that gives you some better definitions of what each meeting is and how it's a little bit different from each other, but they're being added to our calendar, so you have that heads up. Now, who has questions? I figured. All right, so we'll start with Aaron, and then I'll do Prathina.
I do have a couple of questions, but I really just want to start by saying thank you to Dr. Battle, to all of the support team that have been helpful on this. I know I came to you all soon after the Covenant shooting with a number of the things that are listed in here, and was hopeful that we'd be able to get them. Some things that constituents in my area, which includes the Covenant School, had been asking for, and I'm really grateful to you all for all of the work you've done and time you've put in with MNPD, with the fire department, to get to a place where we feel comfortable with a set of things we can move forward with. And so I really just want to start with a big thank you. In particular, I wanted to say thank you and recognize the school-based employee training. I had heard from principals and assistant principals in my area that the training CRACE, is that how you say it? CRACE training that they received last year was excellent, and that they were really glad to be able to provide that to their school staff, but that if there was a possibility that school staff could get it directly from the source, that they would be really excited about that. So I know they felt like that was a really, really strong training, so I'm glad to hear that. And to know that SEL is really a focused part of this. I mean, I went looking for, so I will get to some questions. I went looking for research on sort of, what are the things that we really need to focus on? What does peer-reviewed research tell you about what to do in these situations? And really, you cannot, unfortunately, find a lot on how to harden buildings as a way to prevent school shootings, or even really, we know that we can buy some time, but really anything that you can find anywhere, and I know Dr. Battle and her team are well aware of this, is going to talk about the need for relationship and connection, and that prevention is really starts early on with students. And so all of that work that we're doing is so important, but it is also great to be able to see some of these things happen as well. On this, and then I do have a question on third grade retention, but I can wait to ask that. I think I'm just interested to know what of this funding is available, what do we need to be advocating for right now, and sort of where are we at the moment in process, if you're able to talk about any of that.
Looking at slide 20 around the support needed, all of it is needed. The only thing that's right now being covered to a level is the safety ambassadors, because it's a part of our ESSER plan, but of course that will end around this time next year. But I must point out that we would have to have funding well in advance of that for employee retention sake. So we can't wait until June of next year to identify and then invest in this way in order to keep the program running. So everything else will require additional funding. You do see representation here of both MNPS and MNPD ask around that, particularly for MNPD. It is the MNPD presence at athletic events, as well as the overtime, $1.8 million for the MNPD visibility at our elementary schools.
Thank you. And so that's part of then what we need to be doing as part of these council hearings that are upcoming and things we can be sharing with our constituents, that these are areas that in order for them to occur, that we're there in terms of being able to do it. But in order for that to occur, we will need to make sure that we get that funding this year and in a recurring way for the recurring elements.
That's correct. And several of the MNPS items are part of our aspirational budget.
Yes. Great. I think that's probably it, and I'll wait to ask my question on third grade retention till later, unless you want me to go now.
You can go ahead now.
Okay, so really just, I had one sort of big picture question on the third grade retention, talking about I think it's 34% of kids who are impacted by the law, and then looking at the number of students that are signed up for, so it's that 3,600 students is something like close to 60% of our third graders, if I'm doing math correct.
Yeah, we have a number of students who are not impacted by the third grade retention enrolled in Promising Scholars. And we want that because our Promising Scholars wasn't designed just for the third grade retention. It is designed to be an enriching learning experience, an engagement opportunity for all students. So there are a number of third grade students who are enrolled in Promising Scholars that are not impacted currently by the third grade retention law.
And do we have a sense of how many that are like, is there a good overlap? Do you know?
Just looking to my team to see if we're all of like a week and a half in Promising Scholars, so we probably don't have that information to date. We do have information on the individual student by student case, but not sliced, if you will, in that way.
Okay. It would be interesting to have a sense of that, just to be thinking about what does it look like for third grades in schools in the coming year.
Well, I might add that fortunately for Metro Nashville Public School students, we have all the measures of the law in place, from tutoring, and I did the second one, just slipped my mind, tutoring and Promising Scholars available to all of our students. And so we have various pathways of support for our students that might not impact third grade enrollment, if you will, due to the retention law.
Great, thank you.
Did you want to ask something, Mason? I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you. Berthina?
First of all, I want to apologize for my tardiness. I'm dealing with migraines, so if I talk a little loopy, I apologize in advance. But I do want to echo Ms. O'Hara Block in saying thank you to you, Dr. Battle, and your team, along with your collaboration with Metro Nashville Police Department, Nashville Fire Department, and the Office of Emergency Management, and your collaboration around safety and security. We've had a lot of discussions about it, and so I really appreciate the forward thinking and the work that you guys are doing to really address this, as well as listening to parent and communities on how we can systematically improve the safety and security of students while they're in our schools. I do, however, have a caveat in saying that while we are increasing safety within our schools with the increase of safety ambassadors and SROs, I am still concerned about the number of SROs that will be in our school, unfortunately, due to the rise in gun violence and the impact it will have on students day in and day out. There is a lot of, while there's not a lot of research on securing buildings, there is a lot of research on the impact of SROs with students in school, especially students who come from underserved communities. And so I would be remiss if I say if we could make sure that we are, and I know that you mentioned that that MNPD, SROs, and our safety ambassadors will be trained on SEL, but if we could be very conscientious and mindful of that in their relationship with students and really building that component, and being mindful of the impact, if any, it may have on students who may be affected in a negative way.
Oh, thank you for that. So first, with regards to fully staffing the SRO program, there's no expansion of the program. This is filling the budgeted positions that have been there for quite some time. And yes, with regards to our very own support staff, as well as collaboration with MNPD, we take a very collaborative approach in training. We benefit from training from MNPD. They benefit from training with MNPS, and I'm very proud of the fact that we typically don't have any tension between the two, and they actually request for and ask for this training as well. We were just in a planning session yesterday where we also made another connection about one of our partners that they also partner with in the SEL kind of mental health space as well. And so we will continue to collaborate in that manner with regards to particularly SEL practices that are expected and the diverse population of students that we serve. So again, Chief Drake and his team have been very openly receptive of that training, and likewise, we've been very receptive of the training that they can provide alongside us as well.
Thank you. To follow up to that on budgetary items and support that's needed, of that, the funding that's listed up here, what is included in our aspirational budget, and what are we looking for outside resources for?
All of them will require additional funding at either the local, state, or federal level. Right now, the only one that's covered in any source of funds is the safety ambassadors through the ESSER grant. It was also included in our aspirational budget. There was also an ask around the increased athletic and extracurricular, including graduations, within our aspirational budget as well. And then the shatter-resistant protection glass and the seamless communication radio systems are new as based upon an additional in-depth review in collaboration with MNPD and being responsive to the most recent tragic incident.
So are we looking to expand our budget in light of the new information? Are we looking at different resources? Can you help me?
So we need to advocate for and secure funding to have these enhancements as a part of our safety and security plan moving forward. We can continue with the safety ambassadors for another year because that's been approved in our ESSER budget. The other items are new and are either a part of the aspirational budget or now a result of our enhancement with regards to the safety and security plan.
Okay. I'm just trying to get, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get some clarity.
So if the question is, because we're in the midst of the budget cycle right now, if there were additional areas of investment that the council was interested in, we highly prioritize safety and security as well as our other federally funded initiatives.
Thank you for that. And another question, is there a way, because we've had community members ask about being able to donate funding or give funding in any way, what are avenues that they can do so, or are there avenues that they can help support our initiatives?
We are currently in communication with a few partners who are interested in kind of being the convener in that space, but the one thing we have to be very mindful of is a lot of this is recurring. So, you know, fundraising helps in one-time efforts, but it is important that either through a recurring grant or our operational budget that these investments are represented henceforward so that we can continue these efforts as we move forward. I mean, the shatter-resistant protection glass could be a one-time We don't know yet. It could require additional maintenance and supports. Of course, as you have new facilities come on or renovations happen, I mean, it is likely that there will be a recurring cost. So that's something we have to keep in mind. So the fundraising helps kickstart, may not help us in our continuity of supports and strategies that are represented here.
Thank you.
Frida?
Kind of leads what I was going to say, that kind of as budget chair, I just wouldn't want the community to be mindful that the staffing is roughly about $5.6 million that will be reoccurring. And then also you have to understand these are people who are having this. There's also a cost of living that will increase over time. And so there's a natural inflationary aspect to these funds. So as we advocate for these, that it's not just a one-time funding. These are people that have jobs, that will have a career, and that it will continue. So as we're in this current political environment, please be mindful as you lobby council or lobby candidates that this is a continuing effort, not a one-time effort. And I want parents and community advocates to understand that that means an additional allocation to either a Metro budget, our budget, and I'll continue advocacy in the cost, and that priorities have to be made. Budgets are a finite amount of resources, and so understanding as we have communication, as we're going through the season, that we have to set priorities, that this board has set priorities on what we're doing, and make sure that we don't have financial cliffs, and that they come and continue as part of the continuity of budget. So understanding some of the conversations that we're going to have, some of the difficult decisions that we're going to have, to be mindful of that, and we're going to place priorities over things that happen with our children, and then what happens inside the classroom and outside the classroom. So I just want to be mindful of the true cost, and that it's a continuing cost. It's not a one-time cost, and that $5.6 million is not a stagnant amount. It's going to increase over time also. So I want the community to understand that. And then also, just a quick question about the Promise Scholars. Are we communicating with especially first and second grader parents to understand that this is a support that's really needed to help reinforce their contingency effort to prepare for the third grade retention proficiency?
Yes, so in this original inception of Promising Scholars before the law required the summer programming, it was built, the program was built and communicated in a way to avoid kind of the summer slide that happens with our students. And you can address that in very enriching and engaging ways. Before the nature of this current law, we were providing this opportunity to our youngest learners as well for that very reason. So we'll continue to communicate what Promising Scholars is and the benefits for our many MNPS students, including our earliest learners.
That's why.
Thank you, Emily.
I want to start by saying I appreciate what's the part in the report here about how our agencies use a collaborative process for vetting, because I know a lot of us had a lot of information coming at us, a lot of great suggestions, great meetings happening among parents, but I think it is so important that MNPS and MNPD are able to communicate the way that we do to come up with solutions together. I don't think that is the case in all areas, so I think we're really fortunate to have that close relationship. And I wanted to ask about these grants, specifically the school safety grants that would be applied for by the district. So, and you mentioned there's an application process. Are they actually competitive grants, or are they just allocated and you have to
I think we're still receiving information about the grants. I know that they've been announced in dollar and intent, but we've not received the details to actually get in there and learn that information. I think if there was an important takeaway, we do plan, and MNPD plans to apply for the grants. So I'm not sure how they're going to make these determinations, if it's competitive, if it's based on enrollment size and certain allocations. I've heard that maybe within the next week we might get some details, and I'll be happy to pass that along once we learn more.
Okay, great. Just kind of curious about how they determine those allocations. And then back to third grade retention, and I know you don't know the answer to this question yet, so I'm going to ask it, and then maybe when we have it. So of that, 68% of the 34% of third graders for whom the intervention is the only option, how many of them are currently in Promising Scholars? I guess that's what I'm wondering. You know, what's the uptake on the part of the students that are in the most dire need of the interventions? And we may not know that right now, since everybody's still kind of, and I'm sure there are some that showed up on the first day. And
there's some we've called.
Great.
So,
Great.
so once we kind of get a stable representation there, we'll share as much information that we can pull from it back with the board.
Great. And I do think, you have to have been living under a rock to not know about Promising Scholars. I feel like it's been coming at us from so many directions. I'm appreciative of that as well. So thank you.
And on that note, a quick shout out to our school principals and assistant principals and counselors and teachers who've taken a very hands-on approach to the students that they serve to make sure that they're informed, enrolled, and have the information that they need. So very proud. Dr. Bellamy, Chief Perry have been working closely with their school teams to get as many students captured as we can this summer so that we can prepare for next school year.
I think that's great. And I want to echo that as well. I have heard from parents like, wow, I've gotten all the details all along the way. And I think the fact that it has been individualized for each student, every student known, I think we really, even given such a, not enough information from the very beginning about how this is going to play out. Not enough information about what kind of amendments there might or might not be along the way. I just think we really, we stayed in touch and we communicated the whole way through. So, and I know it was exhausting, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Masters. And I cannot forget to give a shout out to Tina Stinson and our magnificent research assessment and evaluation team who made all this data come alive and visible to equip our school teams with what they need.
Yeah.
Abigail?
I'll start with Promising Scholar or third grade retention stuff and move to since we're kind of already talking about that. Have we heard from the state about what will satisfy adequate progress for the end of summer school yet? And do we know how to measure that at this point?
Dr. Bellman, if you don't mind responding.
Yes, ma'am. It's going to be a 5% point bump from their pre-test to their post-test in Promising Scholars.
And we know for sure that the pre-test that we've administered will meet their requirement for whatever they decide is going to. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I figured we would. We are always on the ball about that. You are always on the ball about making sure that we're meeting those requirements. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. That was my only question. I think, like Ms. Masters said, you guys have been really on top of making sure our families know in a situation where so much is unknown. And there's been a lot of anxiety and frustration on everybody's part. And so thank you for the work you've done.
Thank you.
So moving forward, looking at the school safety, I don't want too many details for the same reason that you said you were not going to share very many details, but I just wanted some reassurances to know that there is information for our teachers who are in portables about what to do during lockdowns, and that we have subs fit into our plan about how to, like making sure that they have keys and access in and out, and just kind of, because those I think sometimes can accidentally get overlooked.
Yes, so the portables are part of the school plan. As they're planning and running those drills, that is a part of what they will be planning for and executing on. Again, we're going to be working closely with the MNPD on kind of pressure testing that as well. With regards to subs and other visitors who may be in the building, I must kind of double down on why we're transitioning to the classroom associates who will be a part of the training that we're talking about, who will be a part of the drills that we're talking about. There will be a small portion of substitute teachers who will still be in our buildings, and so Chief Spencer and Amber Tyus will be working closely on the training for substitute teachers so that they understand the procedures and protocols as we move forward. But the classroom associate move is also part of strengthening our safety and security execution in all of our school buildings and facilities across the district.
Yeah, thank you. And then also, so the new law that's allowing private schools to contract with MNPD for security that passed recently, as you have mentioned several times and we've heard from other school board members, we have had a pretty static number that we've requested every year, and we've made sure that we have budgeted for that amount every year. And MNPD is working hard with us and partnering with us to make sure that they'll be able to fill all those spots. But there have been issues with filling every spot, and I'm concerned about a private school wanting to come in and kind of chip away at that number. Do we have any reassurances from MNPD that you know, our contract will definitely be filled?
Yes, so, I'm sorry.
First, basically.
So the first thing, and I'm going to look to my team, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the language is armed officers, that they have the ability to partner in that way. It does not specifically call out the local police department. So I just want to clarify that. There's lots of other ways to get armed officers or security guards in schools. And what I have here, just as late as yesterday, which is why we're just seeing this presentation today, confirmation from MNPD around their plan to prioritize MNPD in our SRO program for staffing.
Okay. All right. I appreciate knowing that. And then again, I also want to just kind of echo Dr. Nava McKinney's comments about what the research shows about there being a fine line between feeling safe and actually being safe for students. And I know you are very well versed in that research and that you know a lot about it. And I just wanted to kind of publicly state that I'm also, you know, on your side for making sure that we're doing what's best for our students. So thank you.
It's the same thing.
Christian.
Security officer or MNPD.
I've been trying to figure out how to form the question. I know there are community partners who have reached out about trying to offer community support or summer programming that might, I don't know, reinforce promising scholars or take whatever overflow. What do those discussions look like, and should we just kind of tell those community partners that continue to do the good work, but that when it comes to some of the specific state policies that we continue to take the lead? I just want to know because there was also conversation at the state level about pushing out dollars to community groups to do something similar to a promising scholars to support us.
Yeah, so two different approaches to answering that question. The first one is we have plenty of community partners who are partnering with us through Promising Scholars, enrichment opportunities, tutoring, so on and so forth. And so if there is an organization, nonprofit that's interested in partnering in that way, we have done it and will continue to. I mean, we actually have to have it in order for Promising Scholars to work the way in which it's been built. The second part of the question is just hearing that and wanting to leverage the talents and people that we have. In Nashville, we're continuing to kind of think about and plan for ways in which we can expand those opportunities. I mean, we're thinking about it not only just for Promising Scholars, but also for extended learning opportunities. We know that's a need for our families. It was part of our aspirational budget ask as well, and so we're thinking about how do we leverage our own internal talent, but also tap into the talent of the community to make sure that our students have safe, enriching, thriving learning environments before and after school as well. So we're continuing to think through through that. But in the meantime, we already have some of those partnerships existing specifically with Promising Scholars. There's also ways and opportunities to partner with our Accelerating Scholars program and our entire Scholars portfolio. So if someone has a specific question, we'd be happy to kind of connect and kind of uncover what might be possible as we continue to build out the plan.
I'll follow up with the Accelerating Scholars because I've just heard from a number of churches in North Nashville who are looking to kind of stand back up tutoring programs that they had to try to leverage that either during the week or on the weekends, fall and spring. So I think there's something there. We just kind of haven't quite fleshed it all out. And so thank you for that. And then, of course, I've got to shout out North Nashville. And Robert Churchwell just continues to thrive, so much so that my son is asking if he can go to Churchwell. And I'm like, no, baby, you're a Jones baby. you got to stay at one school. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Gentry.
Yes, and you're absolutely right about Churchwell. The environment, the new leadership there, the entire vibe in the building has completely changed, and so I appreciate the identification of that, of the leadership for that building, and just in hearing the commentary around SROs in the building. You know, this has been a hate relationship for a long time in MNPS, and I was sitting here looking over Chris and Hank. I think in the almost 16 years I've sat here, we've never had a conversation about a partnership with MNPD. And so I want to not say don't be concerned. I want to say that this is unlike anything that has ever happened between MNPD and MNPS in the time that I've been paying attention to the board. And so I remember the extremely contentious and understanding that was about a subset of schools in our portfolio, but a very contentious conversations that went on for a long time around pulling SROs out of our building. It was just a very hard line. It was not a partnership. It was we have the resource, you need it, and we don't want you to have it kind of a thing. We don't feel comfortable giving it to you. And it was not a conversation. It wasn't a discussion. It was the mayor getting involved. It was all of these attempted kumbaya conversations. And to have a police chief, and I just want to, again, I want to publicly commend Chief Drake. I try to tell him so every time I see him, for just coming to the table differently and understanding that what we've always said at this table, that what comes into our buildings started, is nurtured, it breeds outside of our buildings. And so we put it into a confined space called a school or a classroom and hope for the best. And now we've got a partner to help us to at least within that confined space, to create relationships, as you guys have pointed out, which is what's going on in the training and going into the conversations, right, which never happened, right? They sent us SROs. They walked into our building, some with an attitude of, I'm here to keep the law, some, I'm here to keep the peace, and a handful, I'm here for the students. And so and I lied and said I didn't really have a question. I do have one question. And as we think about that other comment of things manifesting outside, have we talked about ways that partnership can expand beyond the concept of an SRO, right? So we know that it's the community that's in our buildings. How are we leveraging, or are we looking to leverage that relationship, that really good, solid relationship, so that, you know, we're viewed as not partners in school safety, but we're partners in what can have a positive impact on the lives of our students, that we are charged to care for.
Yeah, I looked at my team, and we all had a smile on our faces. We've been having this conversation, and what you've heard tonight mainly represents kind of the MNPS responsibility, what we're doing on our side. When you hear from MNPD, you're going to hear about their dedicated school safety division that they've created and expanded over the last year. You're going to hear them talk about their, Chief Drake has brought another approach, a community approach to MNPD, and he starts with, which is why we make for just such great partners, the relationship building that has to be present, the trust building, and so he gets that. So when we talk about navigators, he's like, tell me more, right? So and you'll probably hear it. Unfortunately, Chief Drake won't be at the meeting tomorrow, but Lieutenant Bacanza will be there, and you'll hear him talk about the way in which they approach the work today as opposed to the way they probably approached the work in the past. And so what we're seeing here is a building out of a partnership beyond just the SRO program. You'll probably hear them talk about their PAL activities that they're doing, which is extracurricular activities. You'll likely hear them talk about their K-9 unit that they bring into our schools. They might call it something else. And the kids absolutely love. And you're going to hear him talk about the volunteerism of his team and being out in the community building those relationships. And so while we have very specific conversations about schools, we also have conversations about what's happening in the community. Quite frankly, it gives us better context as school people around everything else that's happening out in the community that they're also solving for. So yes, I think that what you just described matches Chief Drake's vision for his unit from top to bottom and the way in which they're trying to approach the work. He is very big on relationships and building trust throughout the community. I think he calls it, is it a community approach? I'm looking at Kim, or community policing is how he describes his unit.
Erin.
It's just a super quick thing based on, I think what everyone has said around the great things that SROs can bring to the buildings and the things we need to be cautious about, and also the partnership approach and all of that. One partner or set of partners, or that we maybe don't see talked about in the safety conversation, but I know community policing has some sense of, is mental health providers and mental health partners, and it seems like a good opportunity to think about trying to bring in more of that, and maybe you all are doing it.
It's an aspirational budget item. We have expanded mental health providers in our schools through our ESSER budgeting, so our priorities are in the right place.
Oh, yeah, and community-wide,
yeah, absolutely, too, yeah. Absolutely. And so it is something that we're looking to secure recurring funds for, and you will likely hear MNPD talk about that component of their work as well, and I've said this before, I've said it publicly before. I mean, it is amazing to have a partner in Chief Drake in this work. And to Ms. Masters' point, again, another kind of envy point of districts across the country that we work so closely together. We have standing routine meetings, but I can guarantee you I don't hesitate to pick up the phone, and my team doesn't hesitate to pick up the phone to call Chief Drake and his team, and they don't either. And so we have a very powerful partnership in place for our schools, but for our overall community health as well. So the aspirational budget is in there. It's under the continuity of federally funded initiatives. If anybody wants to take a peek at the slide, so that we can continue to expand upon the mental health providers in our schools. We have definitely expanded beyond where we were when we closed our doors in 2020 and being in the in-person learning environment. We want to maintain that, and we want to continue those partnerships in our schools.
Berthina?
I don't have a question. I don't have a question. I just have a comment that I forgot to say earlier about the Promising Scholars Program and the great benefits of the program. I have a rising fifth grader who is not in risk of retention, but who has loved the Promising Scholars Program for the last three years that it has been active, and he's in it again this year and absolutely loving it. I don't have to fight him to get up in the morning. He's really excited about going, and really excited when he comes home from the programming that takes place. So I, again, without remiss, would encourage everyone to put their children into the Promising Scholars Program and the benefits of that program. Thank you.
Well, I didn't tell Dr. Nabah McKinney to say that, but that is like the going line. Like, like they want to be there, and please plan your vacations around Promising Scholars because our students do not want to miss any opportunity.
Thank you. I should say my kids are actually jealous that your kids get to go because we did not get to sign up because of some vacations and other plans. So we were not going to make the attendance requirement. I like to say for Chief Drake as well that we really appreciate his understanding that our schools are and our community are a reflection of one another, and that we have to be good partners together. And that's not just from a policing standpoint, of course, but also from a support standpoint. And so we really appreciate that, and their flexibility in listening to us and being able to meet us and have productive conversations along with Nashville Fire. We often don't talk about their partnership as well, but particularly like with the Shatterproof, I mean, we do talk about their partnership because one just got married a Christian. One fireman married a board member, so we do talk about that. But beyond that, though, it is really nice that they have taken our requests that we've received, not only from ourselves, but from our own research and from our constituents, and it's been a let us look into it, or it's been a yes and, or a maybe. They absolutely, of course, are focused on the safety and the data that's behind different measures, like the shatterproof glass, but they are willing to take and listen to why these things are wanted or needed and kind of expand some of those conversations. And so we are really, really appreciative that it's not just a strong arm no, and that they can listen and help us as well. And that's a really wonderful testimony to the relationship that's been cultivated there. And so very appreciative of that. I want to make sure we publicly recognize both groups, not just MNPD, though we are grateful for you, but also Nashville Fire, NFD. For Promising Scholars, I just want to make sure that we take note of the significant increase of students that we are taking within Promising Scholars. I think that speaks a lot to not just the effect of the retention law, but just how much this has been a community need and want, and how it's been desired for our families. We were lucky as Nashville that we already had Promising Scholars started before this summer. There are lots of counties inside of the state of Tennessee that had not implemented it yet because it's just so dang hard to implement. You have to basically create a whole additional school system for a summer. And so they hadn't done it because it was really hard, or they had still practiced it. And so we were lucky that we started practicing it in 2020. We pivoted plans and were able to kind of get it underneath us and do it well. And the exceptional and ongoing increased enrollment that we have every year, I think really speaks to the need and the desire of it from our communities. So I really appreciate that we are providing it, not only, of course, to meet the needs of that law, which I know we all would rather not, but we are doing that part. But we are still also providing that enrichment that is necessary and needed for our students and for our families. And it's not just for elementary schools, it's for all grade bands, which I think is also oftentimes overlooked as well. So I appreciate the work that it takes from all of our support staff and, of course, all of our school staff, those people that suddenly become principals, all the bus drivers that now work on the summers, and, of course, our nutrition staff. It takes everybody, guys. It's another school system during the summer. So I appreciate that y'all are committed to it in that experience, because I think it provides not just the tangible benefits of better scores and attendance, but I think there's long-term benefits to that as well with social emotional learning, our ongoing truancy that we're always trying to improve, and that's a hard needle to move. And I think that continuing to build our community relationships through Promising Scholars and providing those benefits is exceptional. So
and the kids love it.
And the kids do love it. My kids loved it in the past, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
I do have a data update.
Oh, yes.
So I think this question was asked two times, two different ways. So we have 3,653 students and third graders enrolled in Promising Scholars. Of that number, 1,945 of them are considered below and or approaching, and only 688 third graders are below only. So that determines the path for promotion. 688.
Okay.
And because Chair Elrod did this, I also have to give a shout out to Chief Swan as well, who is a great partner in this work and is like over and beyond responsive to the needs of the school district. So Chief Drake, Chief Swan, they make for a great team.
Thanks. All right, Christian, I'll let you have the last question.
My apologies. I had one last question. So a student is below. They are engaged in Promising Scholars. They meet those requirements for attendance. They engage in Accelerating Scholars throughout the fall and spring. They still are expected to take TCAP in the ELA portion of TCAP in the spring, and they have to at least be approaching to not be retained in fourth grade.
They have to show adequate progress in their fourth grade TN ready. I don't know that we've defined that exactly as moving from below to approaching as of yet. If they have, I would need to follow up with Tina Stinson, but I don't believe we have that exact language as of yet.
Okay, and then whatever amendment was finally passed at the state level will likely go into effect, which might change or impact that anyway.
I believe there was some last-minute amendments that were passed that don't take effect until next year's class. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
I know I said that was the last question, but our student board member has a question, and I will always prioritize that feedback. So take it away, Elena.
Okay. Bear with me, because I'm trying to figure out how to ask it. But
will you please lean into the microphone? Sorry.
Hey.
And you might have to. There you go.
Okay. All right. So I'm trying to think about how to word this, but I'm super duper excited about all of these safety protocols. A lot of things I didn't even think of. I was like, oh, that's a good idea, So that sounds really great, and I think it's really important to have. I think it's important for students to feel safe, and I think that SROs provide that. And so, Elena, I've had great experiences with my SROs. However, I do know that I've gotten a lot of word from a lot of students who are a bit apprehensive about SROs, and then we're adding safety ambassadors. And so, I'm trying to word this to alleviate some concerns. But what exactly would you say, because I think it's important that these people are interacting and building relationships with students, but are these additional disciplinarians? What do we see them? What is their interaction with students supposed to look like?
Yeah, the SRO roles and responsibilities changed in Nashville many years ago. Looking at Ralph out there, so the role of the SRO is not to serve as a disciplinarian. They're there to provide visibility, to have a presence, and to intervene essentially when there's a wall broken, right? But they are not. SROs are not part of the disciplinary process in any school. Okay, they are there to help with planning around safety and security. They are there to help with the drill process and provide feedback and to be a partner to the school team around keeping students and staff safe. But they're not there as a disciplinarian. That is not their role and responsibility, if that helps clarify.
That does, thank you. And I'm really happy to see more mental health support and looking and bringing those staff in, because I think that is a good collaboration. I don't think you can do one without the other. I think it's really good that we have SROs and support and safety ambassadors, and also having that type of mental health and that type of support staff in schools. So I'm excited to see how those interact this school year. Thank you.
And I look forward to you sharing your experience from your GYMS opportunity later in the summer, because I know we still got some things coming up, but I look forward to you providing some feedback to us on that.
Great. Thank you all so much for all your questions, especially our student board member, as always. So thank you, everybody, for your attendance and, of course, all those questions. They were really good. We're going to move on to public participation. Public participation is where you have a few minutes to speak to us as a board. You have 3 minutes. At the end of that 3 minutes, you will hear the ding. Ding. There we go. If we don't have a real one, we'll make one. Nope, we'll do it more than once, maybe even. So we have 2 people that have signed up. Their names are up on the board, and I hope that they're still here and found a lot of information from their last report. We have Deborah Thomas. Is Deborah Thomas here? Just in case Deborah Thomas is out for a moment, do we have Kellyanne Graff? Hi. Come on down.
Hi, Hi, my name is Kellyanne Graff. I am a former MNPS teacher, and I'm a constituent of Freedom-Player Peters, and I'm here to speak in opposition to two contracts that are on the consent agenda today. Those are for varsity tutors and teachers, tutored by teachers, I think is the name of it. In total, these two private companies would be receiving $6 million a year for the next 2 years from our public schools budget to do the active teaching. It's concerning to me that we would take our public taxpayer dollars and give them to companies that are doing work that we as MNPS are already doing, and instead of expanding the services we already offer. Also, $6 million a year, that's the equivalent of 92 certified teacher salaries on the 5th pay step with a master's degree. So that's 92 highly qualified, highly experienced educators that could be in our system, but instead we are paying someone else to pay people who might be former educators themselves. We are funding a private institution that incentivizes classroom teachers like former classroom teachers like me to get jobs like this that might be more manageable. So I'm worried about the snowball effect that this might have on our district in both employment and in budgeting. Also, in regards to the comments of safety, I left my position as a middle school teacher after enduring a brain injury as a result of de-escalating a violent student. So safety is something that's like a really big concern to me at our schools. And everyone who is talking about SEL is exactly right. Like, what we need is more personnel. We need people, not necessarily safety resource officers, but people who will show up and be there for the students. The student conflict was dealt with by a building sub. And so they were like, oh yeah, everything's fine, and moved it on, where that shouldn't have been his responsibility. We should have had SEL people on it. Those students shouldn't have been together, but we didn't have the numbers to do that. I love the SEL team at the school I worked at, but they were not available the majority of the time that they were needed because their responsibilities are so large, especially at a middle school coming to the end with 8th grade. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did Deborah Thomas come? Thank you, Kelly. All right. I do not see Deborah Thomas, so we will close public participation and move to our consent agenda. So, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed? Please keep in mind that it is quite long because we were out. So there's a number of contracts, and then we have CD&E as well. So we have a motion to approve it. All right, we have a motion that's been first and seconded. All right, all of those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, thank you. All right. We have done all of the work that we need to do today, so that gets us to the very end, which is we are going to have our announcements. Well, nope, excuse me, I have mistaken us. We are going to do our board committee report, so that gets us to Ms. Masters to go over governance quickly.
Thank you. We had a governance committee meeting before this meeting where we went over the student handbook, the adjustments for next school year. Thanks to Dr. Springer for going over those with us. We had a nice discussion, asked some questions about it, and that is the extent of the governance committee meeting.
That was pretty much it. Thank you so much. I know that we had a lot of people working hard to get here, so I appreciate that from my colleagues. Traffic, as always, was fun times. All right, that gets us to announcements. So, student board member, will you please go first? Do you have any announcements to make?
I don't have any major announcements, but I just want to remind students to have fun, get some rest, and most importantly, stay safe.
District 1.
Thank you. I know this seems like a lifetime ago, but I want to go back to our graduations. So I got, 3 this time. So we had Maplewood, we had Whites Creek, and we had Pearlcombe. And I just want to share that for those 3 schools, right, there was a time when they came, they walked up, they got their diploma, and they went on about their business. For the first time in my experience, because 2 of the schools are new for me, we got to see the accomplishments of all of those students. Students who had received state honors, state distinction, district distinction, what their post-graduation plans were. We used to not talk about post-graduation plans for those students, right? It was only the Hume Fogs and the MLKs, and they announced the schools they were going to. Everybody else's graduation was not that. And this year, for those schools, every student was able to stand when some category was called about what their post-graduation plans were. And for a generation of students that has dealt with what they've dealt with, especially trying just to get out of high school, through a pandemic and through all the other social things that we've just alluded to in the previous conversation, to have a plan, I don't care what that plan is, to have a plan is saying a lot today. So I just want to commend the principals of those buildings, because that's a culture shift. That's not just a thing that happens automatically. It doesn't happen by osmosis. It happens through intentionality. And I tugged on Dr. Battle a couple of times through one of those graduation celebrations, just to say that this should be the reality for all of our students every day. And we sit here at this table with the ability to empower, not to make that happen necessarily, but to empower our director of schools to make the decisions that are necessary so that our students get the environments and get the leadership that they need and deserve, so that they too can have a plan after 4 years or 13 years with us. So thank you. Thank all of those principals. Congratulations again to all of the students and to our student board member. I hope you have some fun this summer and stay safe as well. Thank you.
Thank you. District 3.
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to brag on the District 3 high schools in a few different ways. First, I want to welcome Stratford's new head football coach, Anthony Law. Very excited to have him on board at Stratford. From Whites Creek to Stratford. Thank you. Also, I want to thank, speaking of community partners, Deloitte chose Stratford for their Impact Day, and they were able to accomplish a lot of really cool things at the school. They painted a youth courtroom, put in a garden, but painted a lot of walls Spartan orange, so you gotta love that. So just lots of exciting things happening at Stratford High School. I also wanted to mention, and this happened towards the end of May, and I didn't mention it at the May meeting, but at Hunters Lane High School, their debate team competed in nationals for the first time ever, and they were the only team from Tennessee to do so at the NCFL Grand Finals in Louisville, Kentucky. And Jacob and Josh defeated a Virginia high school, and we're just very proud of them. Tried to get my 9th grader there to join the debate team early on, and it didn't take, so he's regretting that in a big way now. So he can definitely argue. So just excited about that. Also, I mean, I don't think it's too early to say August 7th, 6 p.m., Hunters Lane High School, freshman orientation and parent meeting. Go ahead and mark your calendar. If you have a child, everybody, any child entering high school, go ahead and figure out when that freshman orientation is. Put it on your calendar. I mean, it's so important to knowing what is about to happen, because it's a lot having a kid enter high school. Also, want to say Happy Pride. And wanted to just for a moment remind everyone where this comes from. It was the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan. On a hot summer night in 1969, police raided the Stonewall Inn, a bar in Greenwich Village in New York. and that bar was a haven for the city's LGBT population. And they fought back. They'd had enough, as often happens with a lot of movements beginning. So when we march in Pride, we are celebrating that uprising, and we are celebrating the right of individuals to be who they are. And that is under attack more than ever right now. I'm so proud of the work we do in MNPS to provide affirming environments, and I am absolutely committed to being sure that we continue that. So just as everybody puts on their rainbows and goes to Pride, I just want us all to remember where this comes from. So, happy Pride.
Thank you. District 4.
I'm still getting used to turning this mic on and off.
You all are.
Once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Battle and her team for all the work you have done throughout this school year with all the changes in our legislation and the update and being forefront and leading the effort in really meeting the needs of our students and supporting our teachers and staff across the district. I really appreciate all of this work, and thank you. I know it's a lot. It's a big overhaul, but we see you. We thank you, and we appreciate all that you have done. Second, I'd like to thank B.B. Hines of the MNPS Parent Advisory Council for the last 2 years of leadership on the PAC. We had an election a couple of weeks ago and have new leadership on the PAC. So I'd like to welcome our new PAC leaders, Dawn Johnson as the chair, Ashley Gish and Ashley Giss as the co-chair. I'd also like to wish or welcome all of our new principals across the district who are leading schools starting in July 1 is their first official start date. Some of them have already started in the summer, but their official start date is July 1. So I want to welcome all of our new principals. I want to congratulate all of our principals that retired or transitioned to other positions. Thank you for all your work and your leadership in leading our schools, and we wish all of our new principals the best as you come into the 23-24 school year. I also want to make an announcement. We are having in the McGavick cluster a back-to-school kickoff festival that will take place Saturday, July 22nd from 10 to 2 p.m. At the Hermitage Park. More information will be sent out as we get closer to that date, but just want you to put it on the calendar and save the date. Again, that's July 22nd, Saturday, July 22nd at Hermitage Park. And it's a big collaboration of all community partners in the McGavick cluster. So we really appreciate and hope you can come out. And then lastly, happy Juneteenth. Juneteenth will be this, is it Monday? Yeah. Monday, June 19th. And so we wish everyone a happy Juneteenth, and we hope you're able to attend all the festivities this weekend. Take care.
District 5.
Thank you so much, Chair Elrod. And Chair Elrod, I'm going to do a better job of making sure I recap some of the other boards that we sit on, you know, because we're a metro agency. So I sit on the alignment board and the pencil board. I will be ready to recap whatever happens at the alignment board meeting Thursday, and then what happens at the pencil meeting next month, August, September, soon, in the next few months. But I also sit on the Parks Board. You assign me to the Parks Board, and if you visit NashvilleParks.org, you will see a list of tons of free events for families, for small children, at just about every park across the city. Please consider visiting. Again, these are free of charge. They also have different accommodating different events that meet different accommodations for students that might have disabilities, for students who might appreciate dance or music. I mean, they just have really tons of events. And then also consider visiting the Nashville Library, whether it's your local branch or the downtown branch, as the downtown branch has a doggone coding academy that I am fighting and scraping to see if my baby can go to in July. But there are just tons of events that I think families could and should be made more aware of, and we just as a city don't typically we share them out. So again, Nashville Parks, the Public Library at MPL, and then please consider going to some of these forums. It is election season, and I hate this time of year. Not because I don't appreciate the candidates, just because it is such a stressful time for all involved. But we will be electing a new mayor. We will certainly be electing some new council members. So the Nashville Public Education Foundation has a mayor's forum coming up Monday, June 26th at 5 o'clock, and then there are certainly others throughout the city. Figure out who your council member is by visiting nashville.gov, finding your council person, and then I'd suggest looking them up. See if there's a council forum coming up that you could also engage with. Thank you so much.
District 6.
Thank you so much. Really quickly, not a lot. I just want to say thank you, give a huge thank you and a shout out to Dr. Battle. I have, in welcoming our new principals to Southeast, your team of, your selection team knocked it out of the park with these new assignments, and we're really excited about them. So welcome to our new principals at Cane Ridge, Antioch, JFK, Mount View, and AZ Kelly. I will be posting meet and greet information on my social media about opportunities to meet with the principals pretty soon. So look for that information to be posted on my social media. And I'll also be sending out the information via newsletter. Additionally, thank you, Christian, for the shout out about those election season, because I'm with you. It's not my absolute favorite time of year, but it is super important. And in Southeast Nashville, we will be having one July 22nd for the mayoral candidates, at-large candidates, and Southeast Metro Council candidates. So it's important that you come out on that day. It is an early voting day, and it was intentional so that once the forum is over, if you choose to, you can go straight to the polls and cast your vote. So it was intentionally done that way. And finally, Happy Freedom Day, Monday, June 19th. As Dr. Bethina said, it is Juneteenth. So, and I would be remiss if I did not say thank you for allowing me to jump in at the Principal Splash. I happened to be in Louisville this weekend for work, and I got to go over and hang out with these amazing educators. It was a lot of fun. I was only there for a short time, but I was so excited to see them relaxing and not being driven by the bells ringing at the schools or by parents coming or by some meetings that were happening. So they were all enjoying themselves and enjoying each other, and it was absolutely amazing. So thank you, Dr. Battle, for allowing me to interject myself into that time. So it was well worth it. So thank you so much. That's it.
District 7.
Happy Flag Day.
District 8.
We've recognized a couple of things that are happening over the summer for our students. One thing that I got to attend was this strings or orchestra and band camp that takes place the first week after school is over at East High and East Middle, and it was awesome. So fun to see all of our students there having a great time. Learning, playing their instruments, meeting kids from other schools, so middle school and high school students. So shout out to that team for what was a great event and a great opportunity to have your kids somewhere free and fun for the week. Speaking of forums, Opportunity Nashville is hosting a forum for council districts 18, 24, 25, and 34, June 21st, from 6 to 7:30 at the Green Hills Library. So that's like most of the council districts that are in the District 8 area. And it's a casual sort of mix and mingle, an opportunity to meet the candidates. And then just to put a slightly finer point on the Pride point, June 24th is Nashville Pride Festival. Parade starts at 10 a.m. And the 24th and 25th from 11 to 9 on the 24th and 11 to 7 on the 25th. There is a lot of party happening downtown in front of City Hall. So hope to see people there. State Capitol, they change it?
Isn't it Bicentennial?
Oh, that's new. Fun.
It was there last year.
I missed it last year.
That's okay.
Okay, sorry.
You're forgiven.
Thanks, everybody.
District 9.
Just trying to shame me. Fine, whatever.
You were there in spirit. I felt it. District 9.
I want to recognize one final farewell to Hillwood High School and be really excited about the new opening of James Lawson High School. We're extremely excited, and I have been getting so many questions about when can we come and see it. I don't have any kids old enough to be there yet, but I want to see this new building. And we have opened up a community open house. So check your calendars. July 29th, there will be an open house for the community to come and tour and look at the new James Lawson High School. It will be from 10 a.m. to noon. I'm really excited for you to see this school. I'm extremely proud of it, and I cannot wait to see what our students do there. So thank you so much.
Awesome, I will be there. And to your credit, Erin, you were there. I saw you at the parade. We have a photo. You were there. You were there. I don't want you to think that we were saying you were not. I don't want you to think we were ganging up on you and you didn't get credit where credit is due. You were there. I have photo proof. First, I want to say about Overton High School. Dr. Jill Pittman retired after 38 years of working inside our schools. So I really appreciated all of her leadership there, and I know that she left it better than she found it. And I am excited for the incoming principal, Dr. Kelby Gardner. She is also an alumni of Overton. So it's a really great kind of full circle. She is also, I have not had the pleasure of getting to meet her in person, but she is from virtual school and she has a really impressive resume, and I think she'll be a great fit for the school, but also, of course, she's an alumni of it, and I think that's a really great full circle moment. So I look forward to meeting her, which happens this month. Also, I want to, also from Overton, the new executive principal at Tusculum is Mr. Matthew Earls, who is here this evening. And so I'm excited that he stayed within District 2. We're excited to, of course, keep our talent. That is so wonderful. And congrats again to Kelly Carey, who was recognized this evening from Tusculum. She is their STEAM or STREAM teacher. She also has a STEAM after or before school program. Her award that she won is really great because typically elementary schools are not recognized within it. It's only high schools. And so the two people she was up against was a high school teacher and somebody that does science programming for Williamson County, I believe. So it was really great that she won it, and I'm really excited for her. She also does not toot her own horn, so as you saw, she was quite embarrassed. But I'm excited for Kelly, so great job, Kelly. And then also about the PAC, I want to say congratulations to Laura Shipp, who was listed as, or voted, as the PAC secretary. PAC leadership often is Overton PAC people, and so I appreciate that we still have, of course, Dawn Johnson, who comes from Overton, but we also have Laura, who I know from the Overton PAC as well. So I'm excited to see her. And then last, remember you have on your calendars now, board members, all of the upcoming safety meetings. If you are interested in them as a community, I know you can find them through Jeff Syracuse, as he has been organizing most of them. And then lastly, I want to say a belated happy birthday to Vice Chair, Ms. Frida Player. And being there no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.